Okay, so the other day when we were looking at lesson 5.2, and we see that we're working with our quadratic equation, ax squared plus bx plus c equals y. In lesson 5.2, we saw how the graph of a simple quadratic function in the form of y equals ax squared varied depending on the value of a. So the other day we noticed when a got larger, our graphs became narrower. When a was smaller, the graph got wider. However, every single one of these parabolas was located at the origin of 0, 0, because the form of y equals ax squared, where we have no bx or c, will always end up at the origin 0, 0, because when you put in a 0 for x, 0 times whatever a is going to come out 0. And when we graph this, that's going to end up being our vertex. So when y equals ax squared, the graph is at the origin, the vertex is at the origin. The parabola will be upward, open upward if a is positive. If a is negative and we have y equals negative a x squared, the graph will then open downward with the vertex still at 0, 0. So today, for lesson 5.3, we're going to see what happens when we have ax squared plus k. So we still don't have an x in the middle, but now we have a constant, which we saw that for this it's going to be y equals ax squared plus k. So now we want to see, well, what is this k going to do to our graph that we saw the other day was ax squared? Well, we're going to look at two different functions. We're going to look at y equals ax squared, where a is just positive 1. We're going to also look at one where y equals ax squared plus 3, where again a is 1, so the graphs are going to be opening upward because they're both positive. It's going to be a 1, so they're both going to be the same width. But we're going to see what happens, what does this 3 do to our parabola. And we're going to see that, hopefully, when we plug it in, this is going to show you how parabolas move vertically along the y-axis when they are in this form of ax squared plus k. So I've already put in a few numbers here. We're going to make a t-box and use -1, 0, and 1. If we put in a -1 squared is 1. So when x is -1, y is going to be positive 1. When x is 0, 0 squared is 0. When x is 1, 1 squared is 1. So now we're going to go ahead and plot those 3 points. So we have -1, 1, 0, 0, and 1, 1. And if we're going to go ahead and graph that, I can't draw when I'm looking here, then we're going to get our graph going somewhat like that. So the same thing should happen over here when we're going to make our t-box and our graph, and we're going to see what does this value of k do to our graph. So we'll make our nice little t-box here. We have x, and x squared plus 3 is our y this time. So when x is 1, we're going to have 1 squared plus 3, which is going to be 4. Okay. And then when x is 0, we're going to have 0 plus 3, which is going to give us 3. When x is -1, we're going to have -1 squared, which is 1 plus 3, which is going to equal 4. So we'll go ahead and graph those few points here. So we have when x is 1, y is 4. When x is 0, y is 3. Okay. When x is negative 1, y is 4. So we see that it's still the same width, opens upward. The only thing that happened was the parabola was translated vertically in the positive direction, the same as what k was. So that's what happens when we have quadratics that are in the form of ax squared plus k. We're going to get, depending on whatever the value is of k, it's going to move our graph vertically up or down. If we have x squared minus 5, and that's what our parabola is, then it should end up being moving down 5. So if x is here and y is x squared minus 5, when x is negative 1, negative 1 squared is 1 minus 5. So we have 1 minus 5, which is going to give us a negative 4. When x is 0, x squared is going to be 0. Minus 5 is minus 5. When x is positive 1, we have 1 squared minus 5. Again, we have negative 4. So if I'm going to graph that over here, this new one of x squared minus 5, I'm going to have negative 1, 2, 3, 4. There's going to be one spot. Then I'm going to have 0, negative 5. I'm sorry. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then 1, negative 4. Okay. So again, should end up about the same width because a is still the same. But now we translated from the origin, we went down negative 5. So helpfully that helps you to see how the parabolas move up and down vertically on the y-axis when depending on what k is.